Commentary about rap music is one of the things I do on the internet, and that I've always done on the internet. I hope nobody ever puts together a collage pasting together all of my past comments on rap music. Some of them I'm not too proud of. But you know, over the years too, I've had rap and hip hop artists respond to those comments. One that sticks out in my mind is actually a rapper by the name of Dirt Nasty. Dirt Nasty, he first came to public attention, I believe, as a VJ for MTV under the name Simon Rex. And then he later repackaged himself as the rapper Dirt Nasty, a comedic rapper. And I remember he repeatedly reblogged and commented on a comment I made about his then upcoming next album. And, you know, I remember one of his comments was he just said, "This matters to me." You know, it's interesting. I mean, it's an interesting element of criticism in the 21st century, is that, you know, I can do a book review and really reach out and touch the author of the book, probably much more than any of the readers of the book or anyone who might read the book. And that happened not too long ago. If you check out the book reviews playlist on this channel, I got an extreme reaction from the author of one of the books that I reviewed, Casey Taft. Casey Taft, PhD, really freaked out. He lost his cool entirely over a very sincere and I think probing and substantive book review that I gave him. But it is a very negative book review. It's and his book is terrible. So it was a well-deserved negative book review. So anyway, this is one feature of life in the 21st century. In many ways, the internet has destroyed conventional journalism. It's destroyed the possibility of earning money from your writing or your words. But it's created this magical possibility of making your opinions matter to an audience of at least a few hundred people. And amazingly, making your opinions matter to, you know, the musicians themselves, the authors of books themselves, and so on. So I just made a brief but cutting comment on Twitter that I addressed to both Lil B the Bass God and the artist formerly known as Kitty Pryde. And I commented to these two rappers, you know, the difference between Lil B and Kitty Pryde is, when Lil B says that he's going to work on a project for 4 years, when he wraps up an album and he says he worked on the project for 4 years, he actually means that he worked on the project for 4 years. My point being that Kitty Pryde, after a delay of more than 4 years, finally put out the rap album, which you can't even call rap, that follows up on the potential that the whole world got excited about, again, more than 5 years ago now, I guess, when she put out especially the one track, Orion's Belt. Orion's Belt, still to this day, if you listen to that track, you can see why people got excited about Kitty Pryde as a rapper. And in the intervening years, where she did fundraising, Kickstarter rather than Patreon. She took donations to get people to pay for this album. She has really just demolished everything that created interest in her as an artist and hype for her work, right? Like, why were people ever interested in Kitty Pryde as a rapper? Yeah, well, you can talk about something really shallow. You can say, well, she had red hair. She bleached her hair blonde. Why did you do that? Why did you eliminate something that was iconic and recognizable about you? But obviously also was the unpretentious, emotionally porous nature of her lyrics in her first couple of tracks that came out, right? She's talking about having a crummy relationship with a guy, or, you know, dating young men, and, you know, feelings and misgivings and stuff. And she raps about the fact that she can't rap and she's not a gangster, and, you know, there was this, you know, insouciance and sincerity to her lyrical content. And of course, she had a style that was partly her struggling with her own lack of technique as a rapper that was really fresh and original and different. And on that one track, Orion's Belt, she held her own next to Riff Raff, a very experienced rapper, another rapper who's now burnt out and worthless, but who at that time had some hype and had some shine and had some respect as a rapper. And on that one track, Orion's Belt, the whole world sat up and paid attention and said, wow, what's happening next for Kitty Pryde? Right? Now, I mean, you could say that also about Little B, but you have to go back way further. I would say Little B on the God's Father project. That was really where the mainstream press said, okay, wow, this guy Little B is a real talent. Still to this day, God's Father Mixtape. Download it. It's free. Almost all of Little B's music you can download for free immediately. So you can check that out and see what the excitement was about. And a lot of people since then have criticized Little B, feeling that he didn't live up to the potential, didn't live up to the hype. And tracks like that, well, the whole projects of that, whole albums like that, created for him. Well, you're entitled to your opinion if you feel that way. But I say again, Little B took several years to work on Black Ken. So that's his latest big project, Black Ken, the mixtape. And I think he did that to challenge himself, because before then, he really had this working methodology of only putting like 5 minutes of work into each track. He put out one mixtape that had over 100 tracks on the mixtape, where he'd just show up at the studio, improvise, do everything last minute. He was famous for taking his beats straight off of, what was it, not Facebook, MySpace. He'd have people send him a beat on MySpace, put it together in 5 minutes, put very little thought into it, throw together these very improvised tracks, and maybe 1 out of 10, something magic happened. And I think he was challenging himself to do a much more traditional, old-school rap album with Black Ken. I've already given that album a very positive review on the same channel. So that's what it is, guys. Living in the 21st century. We all have the opportunity to make our opinions matter, especially to the small number of people on the internet who, for whatever reason, watch our videos or read our articles, feel some connection with us, and care about our opinions. And yeah, incongruously enough, I can even reach out to Kitty Pryde and Little B. Little B did comment on my last video about his album, so Little B watched that video, or at least watched a couple minutes of it, and sent it a comment. This is it's a peculiar era. We were sitting at breakfast today in a restaurant. I commented to my girlfriend. She's just here off camera. I commented to my girlfriend, when I was in a restaurant like this 10 years ago and 15 years ago, we had the internet. But people didn't have the internet with them at their table at the restaurant while they're eating breakfast. It used to be you'd come to a restaurant like this and people would spark up conversation with each other. And no, now everyone's having a conversation via FaceTime on their phone or via Facebook, or they're writing email. They have mobile phones that allow them to access the internet in a big way. In ways subtle and profound, the evolution of the internet has changed all of our lives. And I had to admit, I said, even I'm guilty of this. If I feel like chatting with people right now, I'd probably just start live streaming. Open my computer and start live streaming over breakfast. I don't have any reason to start up conversation with these randoms. So yeah, for better and for worse, that's the era we're in. And shout out to Kitty Pryde for for replying to me on Twitter.